I call the September 5th, 2023 regular meeting of the Union County Board of Commissioners to order. At this time, I would like to recognize Commissioner Richard Helms for the invocation.
All right, if you bow with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed upon us. You are indeed the giver of all gifts, and we come together today to seek your guidance and courage in making our decisions. Be with us in our deliberations and give us guidance to do what's best for the county and all of its citizens. Give this wisdom to lead with integrity, that our decisions may reflect what is right for all involved. Please give special protection to our police, firemen, EMS, and military that risk their lives to ensure our safety. Please, dear Lord, grant us the humility to always seek your will in all that we do and say. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is informal comments. And we have a few signed up for tonight. The first person that we have is Sheila Crunkleton.
First of all, thank you for having me here tonight. As leaders in our community, I am so happy to announce something to you and to everyone in this room, but we have a new blood donation site that's going to be opening in Indian Trail. It's a permanent fixed site. It's a huge addition in this community because the Red Cross is really invested in people and location and everything. It's going to be at 5880 West Highway 74, Food Line Shopping Center there. You've got an invitation to our grand opening on September 26th. The site is opening on September 11th, next Monday, but it will be officially grand opening. We're going to give them a couple of weeks to get settled in, but they're going to be collecting platelets, Power Reds, whole blood there, open 5 days a week. We're very, very excited. And why is he excited? Because 50% of our blood actually goes to cancer patients. Unfortunately, we all know somebody that's been affected by cancer. And blood is always needed, and the only place you can get it is from a donor's arm. So we're trying to make it easy for those donors. Union County, we're filled with great blood donors, but I will leave you with 1, 2, and 3. 1, only 1% of the eligible population actually donates platelets, which is very sad. 2, every 2 seconds, someone in this country needs blood. And 3, only 3% of eligible population donate whole blood. And there's been a lot of changes in eligibility lately. So if you think you're not eligible, please go to redcrossblood.org. The travel restrictions in Europe in the 80s, that has changed now. The mad cow deferral, that's no longer there. So there's a lot of other changes. I invite you to either call me, and I will certainly walk you through it, or check out redcrossblood.org. But I wanted to share the exciting news with you because to me, and I forgot to say, there was only 2 locations across the entire country added this year. One was Chicago, Illinois. The other was Indian Trail, North Carolina. So that speaks volumes for our community because we got one of the 2 locations this year. So I'm very excited. So thank you. Thank you for letting me share that with you.
Next is Robert Burns.
Can you hear me? Okay. Distinguished Board of Commissioners and citizens of Union County, I'm Robert Burns, and I'm running for mayor of Monroe in November. I stand before you to represent the majority of voters in Monroe and Union County who support my campaign's mission to safeguard this county's unique identity and way of life. Having lived in Union County for 29 years, I've witnessed its growth into an exceptional place to raise a family and run a business. Union County is renowned as one of the most desirable counties in the United States. Our community is marked by the warmth and decency of its residents who embrace Southern charm and extend kindness to all. We actively engage in community service, support local organizations, and cherish our traditions. However, we face challenges from a liberal mentality that threatens our values. We must act decisively to preserve our way of life. Our families, your families, and future generations depend on our actions today. Our founding fathers foresaw future challenges, and their brilliant creation of our Constitution still protects our rights in the way of life today throughout our country. Remaining neutral or quiet as elected officials often allow the loudest voices to prevail, even if they don't represent the majority. We must ensure that the silent majority does not become the silenced majority. This council recently missed one of those opportunities to take a stand 2 weeks ago by a proposed motion from Commissioner Brian Helms to prevent official involvement in the Pride Festival, but inaction now risks further erosion of our community's values. I implore Mr. Richard Helms and Mr. David Williams to reconsider their stance from 2 weeks ago regarding this motion. Leadership demands courage and commitment to what is right, regardless of the loud voices. We mustn't be fooled into thinking our current challenge is insignificant. You are continually tested as leaders, and now is the time to act. Please don't be tricked into thinking otherwise. As leaders, that is why we need to be strong and have courage even in the face of adversity. You can correct the path you chose 2 weeks ago, and now is the time to act, not later. There are too many things at risk. I want you to know my dedication to Union County and Monroe. I will stand resolute and will not be swayed by small public opinion or radical voices. I pledge to work hand in hand with you all to make Monroe the greatest it has ever been, and to work tirelessly to fight for all of Union County to protect our people from harmful ideologies. And I will continually stand firm for all people, regardless if they vote for me, and I will not bow down to the woke agenda. May God bless you and your families. I sincerely mean that. Your job is not easy, but you've been chosen for a time such as this. I look forward to working with you in the future and to build something special. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Stephen Morgan.
Good evening, folks. My name is Steve Worgan. I reside in the Heritage South community of Indian Trail, and I am a resident of Union County. And the topic again this evening is the sewer smell that seems to remain in our community. Again, I'm here to sort of move the ball down the field, if you will, and find out which direction our committee. I'm on the advisory committee of our community. Stoney was an advocate, and he was sort of our point person. And some things were told to us, and they're sort of lying out there in limbo at this point. So we're kind of hoping we can get some clarity as to where those issues are. First of which is that apparently there was a closed session 2 months ago where discussions on our community smell was going to be addressed, that we were supposed to be able to see in manager notes. The results of that, we've not seen that. We also were told that last month in August, we would be on the agenda. Obviously, August was a different situation, but we were disheartened to see we weren't on September's agenda. And then lastly, we've been told that there's an engineering firm that has been contracted, and they're looking into our issues. So to that end, we just have 3 questions. Number one, how can we get, or who might be our contact moving forward? Somebody that would be a point person for the council, for the commissioners. Number 2, can we get some information as to where that engineering study stands and what might be happening with that? And lastly, can we be on the agenda at some point soon? We'd like to get a resolution to what we're dealing with. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. Thanks, folks.
Next, we have Abigail Prado.
Good evening. My name is Abigail Prado. I am a resident of Union County and I live in Waxhaw, North Carolina. Today I would like to draw attention to the dangers of fluoride in our drinking water. While fluoride is commonly added to public drinking water to prevent tooth decay, there is a growing body of scientific evidence that claims fluoride does not prevent tooth decay and is in fact unsafe for consumption and will have devastating effects on our long-term health. First, it is important to note that fluoride is a chemical compound that can occur naturally in small amounts of water sources. However, the fluoride that is added to our drinking water is often in the form of industrial-grade chemicals such as fluorosilicic acid or sodium fluoride. These chemicals are byproducts of various industries, including the phosphate fertilizer industry. Many medical studies have made links between fluoride exposure and long-term adverse health effects. For example, a study published in the Journal of Environmental Health Perspectives found that elevated fluoride levels in drinking water are associated with a lower IQ in children. The study, which analyzed data from over 300 children, has concluded that fluoride exposure during early childhood development may have neurotoxic effects on a child's developing brain. A separate review that was also published in the Journal of Environmental Health highlighted the potential harm for fluoride exposure. The review examined 27 studies and found evidence of an association between high fluoride levels in drinking water and an increased risk of developing skeletal fluorosis, a condition that affects bones and joints. This condition can cause pain, stiffness, and even permanent skeletal deformities. Other studies have made important links between fluoride consumption and other various health issues, including thyroid dysfunction, kidney damage, and impaired reproductive function. The dangers of adding fluoride to our drinking water cannot be dismissed. While fluoride has been widely used for decades, emerging scientific evidence states that fluoride has many negative effects on our long-term health. As the potential harms of fluoride become more evident, it is essential to consider the precautionary principle. This principle suggests that if there is reasonable evidence of potential harm, it is essential to err on the side of caution until further research provides more conclusive results. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Harold Schmacher.
Since 1997, the FDA requires all fluoride toothpaste sold in the U.S. to carry this warning. Warning, keep out of reach of children under 6 years of age. If you accidentally swallow more than used for brushing, seek professional help or call the Poison Control Center immediately. Pretty chilling there. This is because a tube of toothpaste contains enough fluoride to kill a small child. But even if you don't swallow the toothpaste, unhealthy levels of fluoride are still absorbed under your tongue and go directly into your bloodstream. How do you control dosage in water? How do you comply with informed consent? Fluoride is not a nutrient. It is a hazardous waste byproduct that is illegal to dump in rivers or lakes. As aluminum production increased in the first half of the 20th century, it became necessary to find somewhere to put the fluoride after manufacturers could no longer dump it into rivers or landfills due to the environmental damage it was causing. Francis Frey, the chief scientist for Alcoa, commissioned Gerald Cox at the Mellon Institute to conduct research regarding the benefits of adding fluoride to the water supply. The Mellon Institute was frequently hired by big business to produce research that supported their industries. And for several decades, they produced research showing that asbestos was safe and did not cause cancer. They produced reports assuring everyone that fluoride was not toxic, it would be beneficial to add to the drinking water for healthy teeth. The research science done to support the fluoridation was underwritten by these companies: Aluminum Company of America, Aluminum Company of Canada, American Petroleum Institute, DuPont, Kaiser Aluminum, Reynolds Steel, U.S. Steel. Convincing the general public that we need to add fluoride to our water supply was one of the most sophisticated cons of all time. Created a multi-billion-dollar industry, enabled manufacturers to sell the worthless, toxic byproduct of aluminum to local municipalities for a profit. Fluoride is still defended today for two reasons: the massive profit produced, and also the massive potential liability if you admit that it causes harm. 98% of Western Europe has now rejected water fluoridation, and their children's teeth are just as healthy as the children's teeth in the U.S. 76 studies show lowers IQ, with one study showing an average drop of 6 points. That may not seem much, but it's significant in regards to the increases in the use of welfare, food stamps, housing assistance, and other social programs. It's multi-billion-dollar costs. Since 2010, 274 communities have rejected fluoride. I'd like to see Union County be the next one to do that. And really think about it. What's the likelihood that it's just a convenient occurrence that a toxic byproduct is actually healthy for your teeth? I mean, it's an absurdity when you think about it. A lot of that was held from the public, and it was a great con job to get it done. But I think it's time to stop that. Thank you very much.
We have some additional speakers sign up tonight. Along these same lines, the next speaker is Mazier Reed. Okay. Maria, we'll go with that.
Good evening, I'm Maria Reed. I live in Waxhaw, and I want to speak about fluoride in our water. Fluoride is the only chemical added to treat people who consume the water rather than the water itself. The only reason fluoride is added to water is to possibly prevent tooth decay. CDC admits that the benefits are topical, not systemic. So fluoridated toothpaste, which is universally available, is a more rational approach to delivering fluoride to the teeth. Fluoride can be described as a form of mass medication with an unapproved drug. Fluoride is not approved as a drug or as a supplement by the FDA, yet it is added to our water without our consent. The main chemicals used to fluoridate drinking water are unprocessed industrial byproducts. Since these undergo no purification procedures, they can contain elevated levels of arsenic and lead. Fluoride has been used in pesticides and rodenticides. The FDA requires that all fluoride toothpaste carry a poison warning. Fluoride has been confirmed to be a neurotoxin. It calcifies the pineal gland, which is the master gland of the human body that regulates the endocrine system. As such, it creates a disbalance in our hormones that cause plenty of serious health problems. Some of these are arthritis, thyroid disorders, diabetes, kidney disease, infertility, behavioral and neurological problems, and cancer. 76 recent studies have proven that fluoride lowers the IQ, especially in children. This was confirmed by the National Toxicology Program, who also stated that there are no safe levels of fluoride in drinking water. Fluoridation of the water is unethical because it violates the human civil right to informed consent to medication, especially since this medication is not approved. The government cannot control the dose of the patient. The government cannot track each individual's response. It ignores the fact that some people are more vulnerable to fluoride's toxic effects than others. It violates the Nuremberg Code for Human Experimentation. No physician in his right senses would prescribe for a person he has never met, whose medical history he does not know, a substance which is intended to create bodily change. As long as we pay for our water and for our government, we have a right to demand what goes in it, and the government has an obligation to protect our rights and fulfill our reasonable requirements. Unless you provide us with a valid benefit-to-risk ratio assessment, we demand no fluoridation in our water immediately. Thank you very much.
Last, we have Carolyn Burrows.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and Board. My name is Carolyn Burrows. I live in the Alton community. And I had found out that at the last meeting, there was a vote on the Union County Water Task Force Committee, and that it was a 2-2 vote. And so since I had applied for that committee, I would like to have that revisited. And I would respectfully request that we also, the short water line extension program applications need to be reopened, and so I'd like to request that as well. Thank you for your time.
there any other speakers who have not signed up who wish to speak tonight, not including the public hearing? Okay. Hearing none, we will move now to the next item on our agenda. We have, let's see. Okay, we will conclude informal comments. The next 4 items on our agenda are all for a public hearing. I will read the rules now that will apply to each of the public hearings this evening. State for the public, each speaker must address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks by giving their name, stating whether they are a resident of Union County, indicating the municipality within which they reside, if any. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make remarks. A tone may sound at the conclusion of your remarks. A speaker may not yield his or her time to another speaker. Speakers shall limit their remarks to the subject of the public hearing. Speakers may leave written comments and/or supporting documents, if any, with the clerk to the board. The first public hearing on the agenda is item 23-571, a public hearing for rezoning application number 2023 CZ003, Learning Experience. I will open the public hearing by recognizing Bjorn Hansen, Senior Planner, for comments from county staff.
Evening, Chairwoman Merrill and members of the board, Manager Matthews. This is a conditional rezoning application. It's called Learning Experience. That's the name of the business that's currently on site. This is CZ 2023-003. The CZ, again, is for conditional zoning. And this is a request to rezone an existing business from, and I know it looks strange, from OCZ, which stands for office, to OCZ, but the conditions are being modified, and this is to reflect a change in the landscaping that was done as a part of the initial rezoning several years ago. After it was built, the natural buffer around the site was destroyed when the retaining wall for the site was built, and this was recognized by some nearby property owners who called it in, and we acknowledged that, spoke with the property owner, and so we have worked through essentially a mitigation plan that involves installing landscaping around the perimeter. So that's the request before you tonight. This is the site plan. It shows the landscaping that would be installed around the site. Here's Providence Road. The existing business exists as it's shown. And this shows the existing conditions as well. Within the last couple months, this buffer on the north side of the site shows where the disturbance had happened and shows the retaining wall and that was destroyed as a part of the construction. Again, this is developed. It's near the Chatsworth subdivision on NC 16. This shows the existing development of it. It's largely maximized. In terms of the zoning, you see that it was zoned to CZ, conditional office zoning, several years ago. Providence and Newtown is just to the south, showing a large amount of commercial zoning. In terms of transportation, there'd be no changes as a result of this rezoning. They've already dedicated additional right-of-way for the future widening of NC 16. Land use plan that was used several years ago to support this rezoning showed this intersection being part of a commercial node. It was in close proximity to the intersection, so it was recommended for approval, and the board approved it. And because this was not a residential development, we didn't contact the school system. It already has access to water and sewer, so there's no change from Union County Water. Public feedback, a community meeting was held in May with 2 attendees. They were satisfied with what they learned. We have received a couple calls since the letters have gone out to nearby residents as a part of the Land Use Board meeting in August, and then this public hearing tonight. Both were just asking about information about it. No one spoke against the proposal at the Land Use Board, and cumulatively, we haven't heard any opposition to this proposal. We did not solicit municipal feedback because the rezoning was so minor in scale. So the only thing that we noted as a negative was that it would have been nice to keep the natural landscaping, but it's gone. So the positives are that they've complied with what we've asked. This use is still consistent with the land use plan and meets our development standards. We recommended approval. The land use board also recommended approval. We do have the owner of the business here to provide any additional information. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Does anyone have any questions?
No questions.
Would the applicant like a few minutes to speak?
Thank you for the opportunity to address everyone. My name is Elias Garcia. I am a resident of Cornelius in Mecklenburg County, and I'm the developer as well as the operator of the child care center that's occupying this premise. And I would just respectfully request that if there is no opposition to the plan that we've submitted, that it be placed on the agenda and that we can take action on it, so that we can start the installation, especially in the fall, since it's the right opportunity to install plants so that they can take hold.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we did not have anyone signed up to speak on this public hearing. So since we have no speakers signed up, I will now close the public hearing for the learning experience. The next item on our agenda is item 23-596, a public hearing for FY 2025 Combined Capital Grant Application. I will open the public hearing and recognize Teresa Torres, Transportation Division Director, for comments from county staff.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a public hearing for Transportation's annual combined capital grant. The application is for FY '25. The grant gives financial assistance in the purchase of replacement vehicles for vehicles that have met useful life of 100,000 miles. They're conversion kits to change them over to biofuel, and their vehicle lettering. The application is due back to the state by October 6th and will cover a one-year period of performance from July 2024 to June 2025. The grant will cover the purchase of 5 vehicles and this equipment. The total cost of the items will be $711,355. The reimbursement of the grant is 80% federal funding, 10% state funding with a 10% local match. You have any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
No questions.
No speakers signed up, so we will conclude the public hearing for that request. And we will close that one and move to the next item on our agenda, item 23-597, a public hearing for FY 2025 5311 Administrative Non-Urbanized Area Formula Program Grant Application. I will open the public hearing and again recognize Teresa Torres, Transportation Division Director, for comments from the county.
This is for Transportation's annual administrative grant. The application is for FY 2025. The grant provides financial assistance for administrative salaries and expenses. The application for this grant is due back to the state by October 6th and will cover a one-year period of performance from July 2024 to June 2025. The funding level for FY '25 is $260,877. Reimbursement of the grant will be 80% federal, 5% state, and 15% local match. Thank you.
Again, we have no speakers signed up for the public hearing on that topic. I will close the public hearing, and the next item on our agenda is item 23-615, a public hearing to consider an economic development incentive grant for MMDI Incorporated, Steel Point. I will open the public hearing and recognize Chris Platee from the Monroe Union County Economic Development Commission for comments.
Yes, Vice Chair Merrill, just for the record, Ron Mayle with the Union County Economic Development Commission. Thank you. Vice Chair, Commissioners, Manager Matthews, it's my pleasure to bring before you tonight an Economic Development Incentive Grant request by MMDI Incorporated, doing business as Steel Point, otherwise referred to as Project Dolly. Steel Point has been in Union County since 2010. They're located on Beltway Boulevard in Stallings, where they currently employ 89 people. They manufacture heavy-duty trailers used to haul equipment for the rental market at retailers such as Home Depot and Lowe's. The company is considering Union County for a 100,000 square foot expansion of their existing facility and the purchase of related equipment. This expansion will enable the company to improve efficiency and significantly increase the number of customers they can serve. The project is also anticipated to create at least 20 new full-time jobs, averaging $25 per hour. If Union County is selected, capital investment would be approximately $35 million. Our office and the company began discussing this opportunity last year, and they have indicated that incentives are a very important factor for the project. Tonight, we're requesting your consideration of a Step 4 Economic Development Incentive Grant in an amount not to exceed $822,500 paid over 5 years, based upon the Union County Tax Office's appraised value each year, excuse me, on the company's anticipated investment of $35 million in new building and equipment and machinery. Based on this investment and holding all factors constant, including depreciation, the company would pay estimated ad valorem taxes on the new taxable investment of $1,029,000 over the 5-year grant period. When we factor in depreciation, the incentive grant adjusts to $750,402 over the 5 years, and ad valorem tax revenue adjusts to $938,800. Of course, actual tax revenue to Union County will be based on the current tax rate applied to the assessed value of the investment each year after depreciation. As we do with all of our projects, we perform a cost-benefit analysis. This project shows a 1.38 to 1 ratio over the first 5 years of the project or the grant period, and that increases to 7.61 to 1 over the life of the project. It's a very handsome return. Therefore, the Monroe Union County Economic Development Commission staff recommend the award of this Step 4 Performance-Based Economic Development Incentive Grant to MMDI Incorporated, doing business as Steel Point, in an amount not to exceed $822,500 to help secure this $35 million investment. At this time, I'd like to recognize Deborah Edwards, who is Senior Vice President at Steel Point, and Michael Edwards, who is President and CEO, who are available to answer any questions you might have on the project. With that, I thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Just one question. Now, this project is intended to be in unincorporated Union County, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we did not have anyone sign up for that. So that concludes the public hearing. And the next item on the agenda is item 23-488, a staff recognition for the Digital Counties Survey for Technology Practices Award. I want to recognize John Emilio, IT Director, for comments concerning this award.
Thank you, Vice Chair Merrill, Commissioners, County Manager Matthews. I'm very pleased to announce that Union County has been ranked 3rd in the country in a digital county survey amongst counties of similar size. We are in the company of First Ranked, which was Arlington, Virginia, the county of Arlington, Virginia, and also local Cabarrus County. One of the things this year, well, last year we were ranked 8th, we moved up to 3rd this year. One of the big changes was more collaboration within our organization between technology and different departments. And so very proud and pleased to have had that occur. So with that, I'd like to recognize there's some folks sitting around here for technology in the different departments to come up and get represented and have a photo. So Assistant Director Chris Learstaff, Network Manager Chris Helms, and we have some folks from the Finance Department that we've been collaborating with as well. Beverly Lyles, as you all know Beverly, Trina Horn, and Heather Howie. And are you going to come up? Are you going, Tracy, now for the photo? No, you can? Are you interested? We did a large collaboration with PC. Public Communications helped us out a lot tremendously with the application. So we've been recognized again for 3rd in the country in technology and cybersecurity. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Squeezing. Okay, squeezing just a little bit more. All right, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll get one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations. The next item on our agenda tonight is item 23-563, staff recognitions for 3rd quarter service awards. I will recognize Jennifer Davis, Assistant Human Resources Director, for this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. The 3rd quarter service award ceremony was held on August 3rd. And this was recognizing employees who reached milestones in our service award program during the months of July, August, and September. Specifically, there were 30 5-year recipients, 23 10-year recipients, 6 15-year recipients, 5 20-year recipients, and 4 25-year recipients. In this ceremony, we were able to personally recognize over 30 of those recipients. Commissioner Brian Helms also joined us to present a 10-year award, and I think can probably attest to the genuine sentiments that were expressed and shared during that ceremony. This was to thank our county staff, of course, for their service and contributions to the organization. We are fortunate once again to have a video that has captured the highlights of this event that we'd like to share with you now. Thank you.
Going to be recognizing 33 employees for celebrating in our Q3 service awards. So you're probably going to either cry today from all the stories, or you're going to do a lot of laughing.
She's a remarkable programmer. I'm just so appreciative of Miss Sherry. I know our entire unit is.
Mark started with us in 1998 as an inspector. And he worked from an inspector to became a supervisor. I believe it was about 2009 or so. I think he became a supervisor. And then shortly after that, he was actually named the director of the department, building code department. That's important because that shows that this organization is really committed to helping our employees grow and take on other roles in the organization. And he took that and he ran with it.
Well, I think it speaks volumes to the emphasis that the organization puts on longevity and tenure. When you become a part of this team, it doesn't have to be short-term. You can be here and make a career, make a life out of it. And it speaks volumes to, I believe, just how important the organization views that. I appreciate all you do.
I am grateful, the department's grateful, and the county is grateful to have somebody like Wayne working for us.
We sometimes work with families who have unique challenges. We have families who have unique medical disabilities. A lot of our folks want to run from that because they're not comfortable with it. Amanda runs to it. I just feel like so many families have benefited from having her as their social worker.
Congratulations, Sam.
Being a part of an organization such as Union County Government that celebrates the workers, the loyalty and the dedication of those that play a small role, a huge role, whatever part we play in the team of being part of Union County, this ceremony holds near and dear to my heart as well because it lets us know that you matter. Your role is very important into team building and making sure that the county runs well with all of the workers that take part in it.
When I think of servants, when I think of people who put the needs of the world beyond the needs of themselves or their families, I think of you every time. And for that, I can't thank you enough for making the world that we're in a better place.
There are good people in this world, and there are extremely good people in this world. And this is one of the extremely good ones. I can truly say I feel like I'm a better individual for having you on my staff. Plain and simple.
I think one word that describes the county is family. From the supervisor staff all the way down to frontline seasonal staff. We treat each other like we're family, and we're there for each other, we support each other, and we continue to watch each other grow to be better both personally and professionally.
Well, Dave will be 76 in just a few months, and he shows absolutely no indications of slowing down at all, none whatsoever.
You know, Brian's got over 25 years in government experience, and as a new commissioner coming in, I'm very thankful to have the experience that Brian has. He's been a huge resource for me. So whether it's questions about things like chicken coops or rezonings or whatever it may be, Brian's been a huge resource. We are very lucky to have him here in Union County, and I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for the 10 years. I hope that we have 30 more with you. And on behalf of all of Union County, we appreciate your leadership and your guidance. Thank you, sir.
We've talked about where she goes in the future, right? What is Union County's motto? Plant your future, right? So I think that someday, what I've told Ashley this, and I'll be really proud, if we can keep her around long enough, she'll be the first female fire marshal in the history of Union County.
That has been my goal from day one coming here. The family feeling in the organization is very, very real. So wanting to stay here and wanting to be a part of that is really, really important to me.
Carrie's voice is a representation of all of the first responders, the telecommunicators that are behind the mic, unseen and many times forgotten, yet one of the most vital parts of emergency services. We could not do this without Carrie's voice. Congratulations.
Jackie, without telling anyone, I just happened to find out about it because I went on the home visit with the social worker and the nurse, and we went to go see what needs she had and see how we could help. And she says, well, I don't need clothes for my baby anymore. She says, because Jackie gave me that bag of clothes. And so I chimed in and I said, can I ask you which Jackie is? Is this a friend of yours? She says, no, Jackie, the interpreter in public health. And it melted my heart. And I don't know that I even said anything to her because I was waiting for this moment because she does things like that. she's known to be that person.
This organization is just a wonderful place to work for. They have shown me through the years that they really care for the community, and that's why I think I've lasted this long, because I can see the love and for the community, and in my job it's important because with the language barrier, I help them to get the help through us, through the interpreters in this institution.
That's what's important about this, listening to you talk about your coworkers, understanding the connection that you have, because we are kind of like a family. We were here so much of the day, so many hours of the day with these folks. And one of the themes I keep hearing is how folks have left the organization and then they come back sometime later and they continue to work with the organization. And I think that says a lot for, first, the organization, but it really says a lot about you, the people that you are, because people work for people. That's what they do. And if they like who they work for, they'll continue to work. They'll continue to give you that effort and that dedication. And I want to say thank you for that effort and that dedication. And again, hope everyone continues to work another 5, 10, 20 years, because that's what makes Union County great. Thank you so much.
Madam Vice Chair, if I may say, first of all, congratulations to Jennifer Davis and her team there for putting on a great program for our service awards. That was the first chance that I've had to actually attend one of those, and I believe that you said it in the video. You said it, I think, that day, that some of the stories that you're going to hear are either going to make you laugh or you're going to cry. I can tell you that I witnessed that firsthand, and you weren't wrong. There were some very touching stories. We are blessed here to have the staff that we have, to have those folks that have celebrated these anniversaries. Even somebody like Mark Griffin, for example. We're blessed to even have him. Totally kidding there. But yeah, he definitely stole the show that day, that's for sure. But no, in all seriousness though, we are very blessed and fortunate to have the folks that we have here in the county. Very blessed to have our county manager as well as all your staff. So thank you very much.
And we're keeping you for another 30 years, right? I think I heard that. Okay, the next item on the agenda for staff recognition is item 23-579, recognizing Union County Water for Safety Awards. I want to recognize Michael Farrar, Health and Safety Program Manager for Union County Water, for comments on this item.
All right. Good evening, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners, County Management. My name is Mike Farrar, and I serve as the Health and Safety Program Manager here for Union County Water. And I'd like to bring forward, for our Union County Water Health and Safety Committee, we have Cassie De Tomaso and Chuck Glass, and as well that can't be here tonight, Lee Dillon and John Honeycutt also serve on the Health and Safety Committee. And the four members of the committee represent the four different divisions that we have in Union County Water. And we'd like to recognize Union County Water for receiving the North Carolina Department of Labor Gold Award for the 4th consecutive year, the National Safety Council 2023 Occupational Excellence Achievement Award, and we haven't received the physical award yet, but also the National Safety Council's 2023 Industry Leader Award, which we are especially proud of. We are one of only 34 organizations worldwide to receive this award, and we are the only water utility to receive this award. So you may wonder what goes into this. What does it take to win these awards? What does this really mean? I could rattle off NAICS codes, DART rates, OSHA standards, and all those things that would probably bore you and leave you with no more information than you came in with. But I'd rather say that Union County Water employees, from the utility technician to the administrator and everyone in between, work diligently to make safety the top priority. Water and wastewater industry can be a dangerous place at times, entering confined spaces with toxic atmospheres, excavations with the possibility of trench collapse, bloodborne pathogens, electrical hazards, chemical dangers, slips, trips, and falls, ergonomics, and so on. We train, equip, and empower employees to keep safety a top priority, ensure every employee goes home the exact same way that they come in each day. I'd like to end with a quote I heard many years ago, which is, effective workplace safety is not an expense, it's an asset. And I'm very thankful that Union County Water lives up to that standard. And I'd like to also recognize the directors and the administrator, Hung Yi, John Shutak, Josh Brooks, and Amy McCaskill, if they could come forward for the photo as well, please.
Since Mike made me stand up, I just want to say that Mike does a fantastic job keeping us alive. So without him, I don't know what we would do.
Mike. Okay. Count of three. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Commissioner Brian Helms, I have you in the background if you wanted to. Either way. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
That sounded dangerous. Congratulations.
Comment, if you don't.
Yes.
So, before the board moves on, just to remind you, you were requested, if you wish to do so, to add the public hearing item as a possible action item on the rezone. Your rules do state if there aren't any opposition, the board can add that item, so just wanted to remind you, if you wish to add that item, I didn't want you to skip that opportunity.
Personally, I'm fine with voting on tonight the learning experience rezoning as well as the economic development. Fine with that.
I agree.
I'm in agreement as well.
So just those two, or all four of these? Or
The economic development one actually is on the agenda for
Okay.
adoption. It would be just adding
just
the
the learning
rezoning
experience
item.
rezoning.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Commissioners, if there's a motion to add that item to the business portion of the agenda, now would be an appropriate time to do that.
So moved, Madam Vice Chair. Adding the learning experience rezoning to the business section.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Madam Vice Chair, if I may, also make the motion to add another item to our business portion, and that is suspension of Rule 32.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. The next item on the agenda is item 23582, recognizing the Lifesaver Award recipient. I want to recognize Liz Cooper, Communications Director, for comments on this item.
I am not Liz Cooper, but I'm gonna take it from her tonight. Tonight, it's my honor to recognize a transportation employee for the Union County Lifesaver Award. Late afternoon on Friday, June 9th, driver Jeff Lunsford was finishing his shift for the day and in the department's parking lot when he heard and saw a teammate in distress. A fellow driver's van was rolling, and when the driver tried to stop it, he got pinned between the van and a parked vehicle. Lunsford immediately jumped into action in the driver's seat and to put the van in reverse and save his colleague. He immediately called 911. Jeff's quick actions made the situation that was very bad. It could have been much worse had he not acted quickly and effectively. So we just want to recognize Jeff, and if y'all can please help me congratulate him and thank him for his heroic act. Jeff?
And you'll be with him if you want to be with him? To give him the present or the certificate? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
You can get closer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know if you wanted.
Oh, no, it's okay.
This is for you.
All right, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank
I did, but, the trainings that I had, I knew what needed to be done. And, if he had not, called out immediately, and if we hadn't been there, it would have been much worse.
Thank you for what you did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
The next item for consideration is the consent agenda. Are there any revisions or requests to consent?
Yes.
If not, okay.
I'd like to move 23-639 off the consent. I think, Brian, that's going to fall in line with your motion to add Rule 32. Is that a fair statement?
Okay.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Are there any other revisions, additions? If not, I'll accept a motion for the amended consent.
Madam Vice Chair, I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We are now at the business portion of our agenda. The next item on the agenda is item 23-616, consideration of an economic development incentive grant for MMDI Incorporated, also known as Steel Point. I will recognize, apparently not Chris Plateau, from the Monroe Union. Oh, he is here. Oh, fine. You tricked me earlier. I will recognize Chris Plateau from the Monroe Union County Economic Development Commission for any additional comments on this item.
No further comment, just really appreciate everything this company's done and look forward to hopefully announcing their expansion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we award a Step 4 Economic Development Incentive Grant to MMDI Incorporated, doing business as Steel Point, in amount not to exceed $822,500 over a 5-year period beginning in FY '26, and 2, authorize the county manager to negotiate and execute an agreement substantially consistent with this agenda item.
Very good. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is 23-409, fluoridization of Water Systems briefing, I will recognize Hung Ye, Union County Water Administrator, for this informational briefing.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Manager, and everyone else that's here in the room tonight. I have a very short briefing on sort of, just basically give you an update on what we do as a utility in terms of our relationship with fluoride. And so I'm just going to, through 6 or 7 slides, just take you through sort of how we got to this place as a utility and what public health says and what some of the standards are and how much fluoride we do put in the water. And then there are other entities within Union County government that also have an interest in fluoride. That would be environmental health and public health. So Dennis Joyner and Tracy Collier are both here. We collaborated on the information that you're going to see in this PowerPoint. So we'll all be obviously available to answer any questions and participate in any discussion that you all might want to have. It's just to sort of give you an overview. Fluoride is everywhere. You can find it in soil, you'll find it in water, and it's everywhere. So since the 40s, water utilities, public water supplies have been adding fluoride as a method to prevent tooth decay, particularly in children. When you go to the CDC, they view, when they list out the 10 greatest public health achievements in the U.S. in the 20th century, they will list, adding fluoride, preventing tooth decay as one of their 10 greatest achievements in the 20th century. And just sort of cataloging the number of cities in the U.S., 45 out of the 50 largest cities in the United States fluoridate their water supply. That's data going back to 2016. The other thing to point out, just like some of the speakers said, is that fluoridation of the water supply isn't mandated. It's not required. The U.S. Public Health Service, which is a part of the Center for Disease Control, recommends a level of 0.7 milligrams per liter as the optimal fluoride level. Just to give you some idea of just sort of the universe of fluoride in the U.S., so I'm going to give you 2 sets of statistics. The first is just overall in the United States. As of 2020, the total population was about 331 million people, a little bit more than that. The percentage of just absolute numbers, the U.S. population on what's called community water supplies totaled over 287 million people, so roughly almost 2/3. So of those 287 million people, 209 were on fluoridated water supplies. So if you want to just do a little bit of math, 62.9% of the U.S. population is receiving fluoridated water. Of the population that's on community water systems, 72.7% are receiving fluoridated water. If you're wondering, well, what do these other people do? They're usually on private wells. So majority of the cities, urban, suburban areas, water systems that are both rural and suburban and urban, but then there are also a lot of the U.S. population that are still on wells. In North Carolina, there are almost 8 million people served by community water supplies. And of those 8 million people, almost 7 are receiving fluoridated water. If you, again, do the math, it's almost 88% of the North Carolina population that is on a community water supply is receiving fluoridated water. That does not include people that are on private wells. So if you're ranking the states, and we'll rank it out of 51, which includes the District of Columbia, North Carolina ranks 18th in the country for the percentage of the population that's on fluoridated water. If you do fluoridate, it's not mandatory, but there are regulatory requirements for what you do if you choose to fluoridate as a water supply. So the maximum contaminant level, MCL, set by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is 4 milligrams per liter. That is the maximum that you can add. The standard in North Carolina, governed by general statute, is up 0.6 to 1.0 milligrams per liter. If you are going to discontinue fluoridating water, you must obviously the board will decide that. And then you must send to NCDEQ a resolution of discontinuance. And then you must also notify the local board of health that you are, that the public utility is choosing to not fluoridate its water. In terms of Union County water, the average application rate for us is at the low end. It's 0.6 milligrams per liter. That is water that's coming out of the Catawba Water Supply Project, because we have multiple sources of water that we get. So the ones that we co-own with Lancaster County Water Sewer District, 0.6 milligrams per liter. We do report our fluoride levels in the water supply in our annual consumer confidence reports. We do publish them online. We do make all of our data available to the public if they are interested in it. I did mention CRWSP, Catawba Regional Water Supply Project, but it's just one of our sources of water. So I wanted to give you a listing of all of our supply of water and sort of what's going on with it. So in every instance, we do fluoridate. Or we receive fluoridated water from the utility that is selling it to us. In terms of the Yadkin plant, it's not operational yet, but it is designed to and incorporates fluoridation as a part of the treatment process. So let me just start with Catawba again. It was constructed in 1993, and we've been fluoridating the water since 1993. The fluoride is added prior to the water storage tank, the finished water storage tank. So just to give you an idea how that works. So take the water from the river into the reservoir, take it into the process train, and then so basically we're cleaning the water. At that point, we add the fluoride, then we add it to the water storage tank where the disinfectants and the fluoride have a chance to intermix with the cleaned water, the produced water. So it gets contact time and it gets a chance to do what it needs to do. And then it goes into a pipe that splits. So the fluoride is added before Lancaster takes it and before we take it. So any decision that this board might want to make with regard to fluoridating water would impact, at least the way the process train is designed right now at Catawba, it would have an impact on Lancaster, and we would want to consult with them before any decision. It's, like it says, it's done in consultation and partnership with Lancaster Water and Sewer District. Annually, it costs us about $60,000 to add fluoride to the water supply produced out of the Catawba Regional Water Supply Project. It really is not a lot of money for what we're doing in terms of the fluoridation. We just don't add that many. It's 0.6 milligrams per liter. It's not a lot. In terms of Anson water, because we do receive water from Anson still, and we will until Yadkin goes online. It is a point of connection that will become an emergency connection once Yadkin's online, but Anson also fluoridates our water. So if we choose to take water from Anson, we're buying a finished product, and it is fluoridated water. So it's not something that we have a choice about. Charlotte Water we have a connection with water with Charlotte, sort of in the Stallings Indian Trail area, in those two pressure zones. So especially in the summer when demand is really high, and if we think we're going to run out of water, we'll often transfer those two pressure zones, the Stallings area near the county line, to Charlotte Water and put it on Charlotte Water so that we can relieve some of the demand on the Catawba Regional Water Supply Project. They fluoridate their water, and if we're going to purchase water from them, it's fluoridated. We don't really have a choice or a say in that matter. And lastly, because it's not operational yet, and we anticipate it will be operational in October 2023, it is designed to include fluoridation as part of the treatment process. It is applied as hydrofluorosilicic acid, and we think it'll be about, again, we're not operational yet, but we think it'll be a little bit less than $10,000 annually in terms of our cost for the acid to add to the treatment process in terms of fluoride. In addition to the public water supply, there's also wells. And so Tracy Colley was kind enough to provide some data for the private wells in the county and sort of what's going on there, and I'm just going to share that with you. So there are, like I said, naturally occurring fluoride levels in private wells in the private water supply. And they occur anywhere between 0.7 milligrams per liter up to 2.0 milligrams per liter. That's the, as Tracy tells me, the secondary maximum contaminant level. And in groundwater, it can be, greater than 4. Environmental Health also has a program, an educational brochure for parents for newborns and children on the importance of testing their wells for fluoride. The ideal level in the brochure notes a level of 0.7 milligrams per liter per CDC. And in the wells that they've tested going back to 2008, 3,800 plus wells, you can see the contaminant levels of fluoride greater than 0.7, greater than 2, and then greater than 4. And so, where the percentages fall for that. As to the public health discussion, so let me sort of lead off with this as a public water supply, as a utility. Adding fluoride has no benefit from a utility standpoint. It doesn't, we add chlorine to disinfect the water. Fluoride doesn't do anything for the water in terms of taste, cleanliness, anything, smell. It doesn't do anything for us from a water standpoint. But as a, public health standpoint, it has a tremendous value. Fluoridation has a long history in the prevention of cavities in children and families and adults. The initial recommendation came in 1962 based on public health studies that they've done in the Midwest. There's an entire book on fluoridation and water. If any of you are interested in it, I would be happy to make it available to you, because I pretty much read the whole thing in preparation for this briefing. Although there are declines in tooth decay, it is still one of the most chronic diseases of childhood. And so the CDC revisited the recommendations in 2015, and knowing that there are other sources of fluoride, toothpaste and the like, they reduced the concentration to 0.7 milligrams per liter based on the scientific evidence of effectiveness across age groups, availability of fluoride from other sources, and other trends in the prevention of dental fluorosis, which is sort of white spots on the teeth. That is all the information that we have for you in terms of how we use fluoride in the public water supply, with some environmental health and some public health information thrown in. All of us are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. That was a really good presentation. Any questions or comments?
So I've got a question, Madam Vice Chair. Is there any data that shows what the concentration was in fluoride in our water before 2015? So obviously that was reduced in 2015. Do we have any kind of historical information on that? Just
we'd have
curious.
to, well, not off the top of my head, we'd have to research it to see if there was a change in our water supply in terms of the concentration of fluoride. We can go back and research it, but we don't have anything handy to tell you.
The recommendation was 0.8 to 1.2 is what the general recommendation was, and they reduced it to 0.7.
I'm sorry, Mr. Joyner, did you say 0.8?
Yeah, 0.8.
Come on up to the podium, Dennis. Join in the fun.
Yes, the U.S. Public Health Service, the recommendation prior to the 2015 recommendation had it at 0.8 to 1.2 is what the levels were. They reduced that to 0.7. And as Young said, a lot of that was driven by the fact that, yes, there is other availability of fluoride and also dental varnish, which is topical applied fluoride on teeth, is also very effective in reducing dental caries as well.
Thanks, sir.
Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. I do have some questions, Hung. You'd mentioned that there are other chemicals, of course, that we add, as part of the water treatment process. but they're used to treat the water, right, for safety, cleanliness, probably taste.
Yes, sir.
Fluoride kind of stands apart from those, right? Because fluoride's not used to treat the water.
No, sir,
I think
that is correct.
Fluoride's used to treat us. I mean, the argument would be to treat tooth decay. So fluoride kind of stands apart from these other chemicals in that these other chemicals are used to treat the water. Fluoride's being used to treat us. That would be a fair conclusion, right?
I wouldn't disagree with that conclusion.
Okay. Are there other chemicals we add to the water that are meant to treat us? Or is fluoride just kind of the lone one that stands out there?
I would have to do research to see exactly what the chemicals are, but I just think I'm fairly confident that fluoride would be an element that stands out.
Okay. And could you speak to, are you familiar with where does fluoridation stand in terms of the rest of the world? I mean, let's take the developed world, for instance. I mean, is fluoridation very prevalent, let's say, in Western Europe and in other parts of the world, or is it, can you speak to that?
I often talk about, in fact, I did this afternoon with Mike Farrar about talking about Union County Water Global Headquarters as, being right here in Monroe, North Carolina. But I'll be honest with you, I cannot speak to the fluoridation practices of other countries, much less other cities in the United States. That would be something that we would probably, and I'm going to speak for Dennis and Tracy, we'd probably need to get an expert to speak to that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm relatively new to looking into this issue, but I find myself with more questions, wanting more information. So, I don't know how my colleagues feel about it, but I would be of a mind to want to study this further and perhaps invite more research, more presentation, perhaps members of the community to speak to this. I'd like to know, I mean, just, kind of for minimum, at a minimum, I'd like to know, how does the United States compared to, the rest of the world in terms of water fluoridation? I had read that it's not very prevalent in places like Western Europe, and I think Britain, has some fluoridation, but, I'd like to know those things, just, what does it look like outside the United States, and can we learn anything from that experience? I would like to understand better, is fluoride really the only thing that we add to the water that is meant to treat us rather than the water, or are there other things that are added during the treatment process that perhaps would be on that list? Because I do think that's an interesting distinction, at least to my mind. I mean, these other chemicals we use, they treat the water, but the fluoride doesn't treat the water, it treats us. And again, it's meant to treat tooth decay, but that's kind of interesting that it's different in that regard from the other things we add to the water. So, I would like to kind of explore this further and kind of get more information and research, and would love to hear what my colleagues have to say on that.
Madam Vice Chair, if I may. David, I think that we found something that we can agree on, at least for tonight. Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Williams. I think that, we've heard from many speakers tonight that have concerns about fluoride, and even included in our own information that you presented here tonight, that there are a number of different sources where you can get fluoride if you so chose, whether it's toothpaste or, other products as well. And so I think that there possibly is a case to be had that this is a medicine, perhaps, that we are, incorporating into our water that, to your point, does not necessarily have any function to disinfect the water or treat the water. So I would be inclined as well to get more information on this. I would also like to, potentially have some discussions with Catawba Water and see, what their feelings may be, just hypothetically, about if we so chose to take the fluoride out of the water, whether they would be supportive of that or not, and perhaps staff can bring this information back to us at a later time for additional consideration.
I agree with both of those. I would like to get more information, learn more about this topic, determine if it's truly something we want to continue spending money on or not. But with Catawba and our partnership with Lancaster, I think that is a hurdle we're going to have to also investigate. Are they also interested? And with the Yadkin water plant, is Stanley County interested? Is Norwood interested? Because that too was a partnership, correct?
Well, I think I can offer you some
Okay.
clarification on that. So the water plant, the Yadkin water plant, which you will all be at the ribbon cutting in
Yep.
September, I hope, is solely for our use. So the
Okay.
water, so the decision on to fluoridate or not fluoridate at the Yadkin water plant is 100% up to the board.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I think we do have, we need a lot of information back on this to make a complete decision. So,
Do we need a motion then
I'm
Okay.
okay. I think if the board is fine, we'll just go back.
Perfect.
I hear obviously that there's some additional information. We will not give you a time frame. Within a future meeting, we'll bring you those results and information back.
okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I would just add that I think it would be really helpful to not just have more information from staff, but perhaps let's invite some members of the community. You know, there may be some doctors and some dentists that represent different opinions on this, you know, spectrum that, you know, might have some, you know, very good information for us and a good perspective for us. So I would just invite us to kind of think large in that effort, in that presentation, and perhaps invite some members of the community who are have more education than we do on this to speak to it.
I think you bring up a good point, that we need professional advice. Not, I read a pamphlet one time, and because the Lancaster Water and us, we've had a 25-year history, and we haven't disagreed. We've worked together, and they seek, I know that the board there, because David and myself are both on it, they seek the professionals' advice on these things. So we need, there are subject matter experts that I think we need to bring to the table if you're going to get a good answer.
Very good.
For sure, let's hear from people more well-informed on this than we are.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is item 23, 464, $75,000 local match commitment for a NCDOT roundabout project application at Newtown and Cuthbertson Roads. I want to recognize Bjorn Hansen, Senior Planner, for comments from county staff.
Yes, ma'am. This is, just like what you just presented, a request from the NCDOT in partnership with the Village of Wesley Chapel to contribute $75,000 for a grant application to CARTPO, that is the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, that is due by the end of October for a proposed roundabout at Cuthbertson and Newtown. This was identified as a part of our critical intersection process that you will be hearing later this month, but this application, we wanted to get it in front of you as soon as possible in case you had questions that we would answer at a subsequent meeting. The village approved their $75,000 request at a meeting in August. This is a follow-on improvement. The public may be confused about this because there will be construction crews in the near future installing a turn lane at Cuthbertson and Newtown as a part of the large Encore development that's currently under construction. But that's essentially a stopgap measure to improve the mobility there, but the long-term congestion and safety issues of that intersection will still exist. And that's what the DOT identified through this intersection proposal, and Wesley Chapel and Union County were asked to help fund it. So this would be a new contribution of funds because you have committed all of your prior critical intersection local match funds. These funds would not be requested by the NCDOT for 3 to 4 years, but this would be a new commitment of funds for a project.
Okay. Thank you. So this project does require an action. If anyone would like to offer that motion.
Madam Vice Chair? Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
I move that we commit $75,000 in county funds to be used as a match for the CARTPO grant application.
Thank you. Any comments? If not.
I think it's addressing a critical intersection that severely impacts our students, the major schools that we have there, so I'll be supporting it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we had a few things we wanted to bring back from the public hearing, the rezoning case for the learning experience.
Madam Vice.
I was going to say, I participated in the original rezoning of that, and I think this would just enhance it. So I'd make a motion that we approve the rezoning to address the landscaping, I guess it is.
Yes, sir, and if you wouldn't mind also.
I'll read
Yes.
the Make a motion to approve the amendment. The proposal is consistent with the current plan to adopt an ordinance approving revision of the official zoning map of Union County, North Carolina, and adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement for approval. Pursuant to NCGS 160D-605, the Union County Board of Commissioners does hereby find that and determine that adoption of the proposed map amendment is consistent with the current adopted Union County Comprehensive Plan. The adoption of the proposed map amendment is reasonable and in the public interest because the density and land used to propose is consistent with the plan as the subject property is within and immediately adjacent to a commercial node as identified by the plan, which provides for a range of retail offices and employment uses, including the existing allowed uses under the property's OCZ zoning. The existing allowed uses of the property are not changing under the modified conditions of this rezoning. The proposed landscaping will enhance the screening from the adjacent residence use and bring the property into compliance with Union County's development standards.
Thank you. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
The last item we had was suspension of Rule 32 motion.
Get one of those.
Madam Vice Chair.
It was item 23-639. I think is what was asked when it was asked to be added to business. Is that correct?
Technically, those are two different agenda items. If you want to take up the one that is mentioned that was moved off of information only first, and then take up Rule 32, you could do that.
Okay. Let's do that.
Could we get a good explanation of Rule 32 that we're discussing?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to do that. Let me pull it up while I'm getting going here. Rule 32 in the board's rules of procedure states that appointments to boards and committees also applies to appointments to fill a vacancy on this board. The most common use for Rule 32 that we have in this chamber is to fill vacancies on an advisory board or planning board or something of that nature. But by the language of Rule 32 itself, it also states that it applies to a vacancy in this board. which in this instance would apply to the vacancy created by the passing of Chairman Rushing just a few weeks ago. So this board is going to consider whether or not to apply that rule to the current vacancy.
Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
If it's appropriate at this point, then I think that I'd like to make a motion that, that we suspend Rule 32 of the board's rules of procedure as it relates to the appointment of a person to currently vacant position on the Board of Commissioners.
Any conversation, questions, comments?
Madam Vice Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll be supporting the motion. It's been, as I understand it, pretty good historical practice by this board to suspend this rule when contemplating, when discussing, when making appointments for a replacement, and I think it's appropriate to do here. This replacement is very different from filling vacancies in our other boards. We're not talking about 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 vacancies. We're talking 1 vacancy. And, you know, we can consider as a board anybody who is domiciled in the county, who's a member of the same party as Commissioner Rushing and is otherwise qualified. We're just not going to go through the application process of folks submitting an application for us to review. I'm fine with that. I think it makes sense for filling this 1 vacancy. So again, I support the motion.
Madam Vice Chair, and I would just add and say this too, that this is not the first time that this rule's been suspended. So there is some historical precedent there under these, well, maybe not quite these circumstances, but under similar circumstances. So, so yeah, I think that it would be appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, any more comments? We're good? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to suspend Rule 32, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Okay. And then we had asked to remove 23-639, but that motion just takes care of that, or?
I believe it was Commissioner Richard Helms who moved that come off of information only into the business portion, so he can best speak to whether this conversation has addressed his reasons for doing that.
Okay.
I think the information that's gone out has been very confusing, and this will clarify it. Like Brian Helms said, it's not the first time we've used it. As a matter of fact, it's been used since I've been on the board. So I think it's something we'll have to consider, and I'll be supporting.
Okay, thank you. So there's no action on that, and we've already taken action on Rule 32. So that concludes the business portion of our agenda tonight. I will offer to our county manager if he'd like to offer some comments.
I just have one comment. I know we had a public speaker earlier asking a question about the Heritage District, and I did want to, give just a little bit of information. We have signed a contract with a consulting engineer to do some evaluation of possible mitigation strategies. That hasn't started yet. They'll have a kickoff meeting here in the next little bit. That will take some time, I'd say several months. I think it's premature for us to really talk about what we will or won't do until we understand what those mitigation strategies are, and then had a discussion with the neighborhood as well as the developer. So I'm certainly happy to be a point of contact, but I think it's important that we wait to get that information first. Thank you.
Sounds good. It is now time for commissioner comments. I'll start with Commissioner Richard Helms.
No comment.
Commissioner David Williams.
No comments, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Brian Helms.
I'll just say that, wow, the awards that we went through tonight, that was pretty impressive. So exciting stuff from Union County, exciting stuff from our staff. Certainly appreciate all the informal comments that we received. I think that it was productive all the way around. Appreciate all of our folks being here tonight, and wish you all a great rest of the week.
Okay, I do not have any comments. So that concludes our regular meeting, and I do want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I move that the board adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good evening.
Deserves another.